Commander Tae-Won Kim stood at the observation deck of the Earth diplomatic vessel, New Horizon. He watched the massive space station of the Galactic Confederation rotate slowly against the backdrop of stars. Hundreds of ships from dozens of alien species moved around the station like busy insects. The Earth ships, smaller and less advanced, were kept at the outer docking areas, away from the more prestigious central ports. Tae-Won sighed as he read the message on his tablet. Another rejection. This was the 5th time the Galactic Defense Council had denied Earth's request to access basic shield technology. Even though Earth had been a member of the Confederation for 30 years, humans were still treated like children who couldn't be trusted with anything important. Bad news again? Ji-Hai Park asked as she walked up beside him. As his second-in-command, she had seen every rejection and dismissal alongside him. The same story. They say we're not ready for Level 3 shield technology. They think we might use it irresponsibly because of our emotional nature. Tae-Won put down the tablet with frustration. Ji-Hai shook her head. The Valkyrie ambassador laughed at me yesterday when I asked about their energy distribution systems. He actually laughed, right to my face, said humans couldn't possibly understand such complex technology. They think we're stupid because we're young. To them, we're just good for mining resources and growing food, Tae-Won said, looking out at the alien ships that moved with graceful efficiency. Many of these species had been traveling between stars when humans were still learning to make fire. Outside the large window, a massive Valkyrie warship passed by. It was beautiful and deadly, with smooth curves and weapons that could destroy a planet. Earth's largest ships looked like toys next to it. Sometimes I wonder why we even try, Ji-Hai said quietly. Tae-Won turned to face her. Because we're humans, and humans don't give up. Captain Ha-Jun Lee moved quickly through the underground facility on Mars. This base didn't exist in any official records. The Confederation didn't know about it, and even most of Earth's government was unaware of what happened here. He entered a large room where 50 scientists and engineers worked on various projects. In the center was a large device that glowed with blue energy. How's the test going? Ha-Jun asked Dr. Min Lee, the lead scientist. Min smiled as she adjusted some controls. See for yourself. She pressed a button, and a small drone fired a high-energy beam at the device. The beam hit an invisible barrier and scattered harmlessly. The shield held at 97% efficiency, Min said proudly. That's better than the Valkyrie shields, according to the data we've collected. Ha-Jun nodded with satisfaction. And they don't know we have this technology? They have no idea. They're so sure we couldn't understand their precious technologies that they don't even bother with serious security when our diplomats visit. Their arrogance is our advantage. This was humanity's secret plan. While Earth's officials asked politely for technology and accepted rejection after rejection, teams like Ha-Jun's were quietly studying alien tech, reverse engineering it, and often improving it with human ingenuity. What about the weapon systems? Ha-Jun asked. Come see, Min said, leading him to another area. She pointed to a sleek silver device. This is smaller than anything the Confederation has, but it packs twice the punch of their standard ship weapons. And we figured out how to hide its energy signature. Ha-Jun picked up the weapon and examined it. It was light but felt powerful. They think we're just angry apes with spaceships. They have no idea what humans can do when we're underestimated. In the Galactic Confederation Central Hall, hundreds of alien representatives discussed trade, borders, and technology sharing. Earth's representative, Sungmin Choi, sat in one of the smallest seats at the back of the hall. Despite his formal, diplomatic uniform, he felt invisible. The Alluvian representative was speaking about new trade routes when Sungmin raised his hand to ask a question. The Alluvian, tall with shimmering blue skin, looked annoyed at the interruption. The human wishes to speak, the Alluvian said with barely hidden contempt. Sungmin stood. Earth's ships patrol the outer sectors near the Viridian Nebula. We've noticed unusual energy readings that might indicate. Perhaps your primitive sensors are malfunctioning, a Morrigan representative called out, causing laughter to ripple through the hall. The Confederation president, a tall Valkyrie with golden scales, raised a hand for quiet. Thank you for your concern, Earth Representative. The Defense Council will review your sensor data, though I'm sure it's nothing important. Now, let's return to significant matters. Sung-min sat down, his face burning with anger and embarrassment. For 30 years, this had been Earth's position in galactic politics, ignored, dismissed, or openly mocked. After the meeting, as Sung-min walked back to the Earth Embassy section, a small gray alien approached him. It was a Zinthi, one of the key, older species known for their scientific knowledge. They should listen to you more carefully, the Zinthi said in a soft voice. The Confederation has grown complacent. They've forgotten what it means to struggle, to fight for survival. What do you mean? Sung-min asked. Most species here evolved past warfare thousands of years ago. They've forgotten its lessons. But humans, you remember. I've studied your history. You understand something they've forgotten. And what's that? Sung-min asked. The Zinthi's large black eyes blinked slowly. That the universe is not safe. That peace is precious, because it can end. That sometimes you must fight to survive. The alien looked around nervously. I fear they may all need to remember these lessons soon. Before Sung-min could ask more questions, the Zinthi hurried away, leaving him puzzled and concerned. Back on Earth, Admiral Unikang watched as a new fleet of ships underwent their final tests. From the outside, they looked like standard Earth vessels, a bit crude compared to alien ships with visible rivets and armor plates. But inside, they carried technologies that would shock the Confederation if they knew. All systems are performing. Above expectations, Admiral, her assistant reported. Good, how many ships are ready, she asked. 50 now, with 30 more next month. We're building as fast as we can without drawing attention. Yuna nodded. Something in her gut told her they would need these ships sooner than anyone expected. The reports from the border patrols, the strange energy readings, the increased activity in unexplored regions, something was coming. Continue the drills. I want every crew ready for actual combat, not just parades and escort missions. Do you really think the Confederation will ever let us join real military operations? Her assistant asked. Yuna looked out at the ships, sleek and powerful despite their ordinary appearance. I think there may come a time when they have no choice. And when that time comes, I want humans to be ready. Later that night, in a secure meeting room deep beneath Geneva, Earth's highest military and political leaders gathered to discuss the latest intelligence reports. The Confederation is blind to potential threats, Defense Minister Jiwoo Huang said. They've been at peace so long they can't imagine it ending. Then we must be prepared when no one else is, President Yoon Rhee responded. Continue our secret development programs. Double the fleet construction. If I'm wrong and there's no threat coming, we've wasted some resources. But if I'm right, she trailed off. If you're right, Admiral Yuna said, then humanity might need to save a galaxy that never respected us. The room fell silent as they considered this possibility. Humans, the newcomers, the primitives, the emotional ones, they might soon become the galaxy's last hope, and no one but them knew it yet. The emergency alarms blared throughout the Confederation Central Hall. Hundreds of alien representatives rushed around in panic. Screens showed the same terrible images. 3 Confederation worlds under attack by an unknown enemy fleet. Sung-min, Choi, Earth's representative, pushed his way through the crowd to reach the emergency council chamber. Inside, the highest leaders of the Confederation were already arguing. The Talarian homeworld has fallen, the Valkyrie Supreme Commander announced. His golden scales had lost their luster, and his proud voice trembled slightly. Billions dead. The colony worlds of Misa and Penthar have also been destroyed. We have no communication with any survivors. A wave of shocked murmurs swept through the room. The Talarians were one of the most advanced species in the Confederation, with defensive technology that was supposed to be unbreakable. Who are these? Attackers? Demanded the Alluvian Prime Minister, her blue skin pulsing with distress patterns. They call themselves the Nexari Empire, said the intelligence director, a small gray Zinthi. They come from beyond the galactic rim. Our sensors detected no sign of their approach until they were already attacking. The room erupted in shouting and accusations. Some blamed the Border Patrol forces for failing to detect the invasion. Others blamed the Defense Council for not preparing better defenses. Everyone seemed to have a theory but no solutions. Sungmin sat quietly, watching the chaos. These were the most powerful beings in the galaxy, leaders of civilizations thousands of years old, and they were falling apart at the first real crisis in centuries. Finally, he stood up. Several minutes passed before anyone noticed him trying to speak. The human wishes to address the Council, the Confederation president said with obvious reluctance. Earth will contribute whatever forces we can spare to the defense effort, Sungmin said firmly. Our ships are already on high alert and ready to deploy. The Valkyrie Supreme Commander made a sound that might have been a laugh. Your primitive vessels would only get in the way. They would be destroyed in seconds by these Nexari weapons. Then what is your plan? Sungmin asked directly. The question created an uncomfortable silence. The truth was obvious. They had no plan. The Nexari fleet is moving through Confederation, space with little resistance, Sungmin continued. At their current speed, they will reach the Earth sector in less than 2 weeks. We don't intend to wait helplessly for destruction. Do what you must for your own world, the Valkyrie said dismissively. The real powers of the Confederation will develop a proper strategy. As Sungmin left the chamber, he sent an urgent message to Earth. Prepare for war. No help coming from Confederation. We are on our own. Admiral Yuna Kang stood on the bridge of the Earth flagship Defiance. Around her, officers worked calmly at their stations. Outside the viewports, 200 Earth ships formed a defensive line at the edge of the solar system. They looked small and plain compared to the gleaming alien vessels, but appearances were deceiving. Nexari fleet detected, reported her sensor officer. 35 ships approaching from the Proxima Centauri jump point. All ships battle formation Delta, Yuna ordered. Her voice was steady despite the gravity of the situation. This would be humanity's first real interstellar battle, and against an enemy that had easily defeated much more advanced civilizations. The Earth ships moved into position. Unlike the rigid, geometrically perfect formations, the Confederation used the human fleet spread out in an apparently random pattern. Enemy will be in range in 5 minutes, her tactical officer reported. Send the recognition signal to activate all hidden systems, Yuna ordered. Throughout the fleet, secret compartments opened on the Earth vessels, revealing weapons and defense systems that no one in the Confederation knew humans possessed. Shields. Stronger than standard Confederation defenses hummed to life. Weapon systems more advanced than anything Earth was supposed to have locked onto approaching targets. The Nexari are hailing us, communications reported. On screen, Yuna said. The face that appeared was humanoid, but with gray skin and eyes that glowed yellow. Primitive human fleet, surrender your world and your people may live as servants. Resistance is pointless. We have already destroyed 3 worlds more powerful than yours. Yuna stood tall. This is Admiral Yuna Kang of Earth. We've been watching your approach through our territory. You should know that humans don't surrender easily. The Nexari commander seemed amused. You know nothing of war, young species. Your ships are no match for our technology. Perhaps, Yuna said calmly. But here's something you should understand about humans. We've been fighting wars against ourselves for thousands of years. We know more about combat than you might expect. She cut the transmission before the Nexari could respond. All ships commence attack pattern Theta, she ordered. Remember your training. We've prepared for this. The Earth fleet suddenly accelerated, but not in retreat. Instead, they charged directly at the much larger Nexari vessels. The Nexari opened fire, their energy weapons cutting through space. But the Earth ships moved unpredictably, making them difficult targets. When the Nexari beams did hit, the supposedly primitive human shields held. Then the Earth ships returned fire. Weapons that should have been beyond human technology tore into the Nexari vessels. The enemy's shields flickered and failed under the assault. They're trying to regroup, Yuna's tactical officer reported. Their formation is breaking. Continue the attack. Don't give them time to recover. The battle lasted for 3 days. The Nexari brought in reinforcements, surprised by the fierce resistance from a world they had expected to conquer easily. Earth's defensive line bent, but never broke. On the 3rd day, the remaining Nexari ships jumped away from the solar system, leaving behind the wreckage of half their fleet. Yuna stood on her bridge, exhausted but proud. "Casualties?" she asked. 27 ships lost, Admiral. 12 more heavily damaged. The cost had been high, but Earth had achieved the impossible. They had repelled an enemy that had effortlessly conquered technologically superior worlds. "Send a message to the Confederation," Yuna ordered. "Inform them that the Earth Defense Force has successfully repelled the Nexari invasion fleet. We are ready to share our tactical data with Confederation forces." The news of Earth's victory spread quickly through the Confederation. At first, many refused to believe it. It had to be human exaggeration or outright lies, but the evidence was undeniable. The Nexari advance had been halted at Earth, something no other world had managed. In the Confederation Central Hall, Sung-min found himself surrounded by representatives who had never given him a second glance before. Now they pressed close, asking questions, seeking alliances, offering trade deals. The Valkyrie Supreme Commander approached him with a mixture of suspicion and newfound respect. "How did you do it?" "Your ships should have been no match for the Nexari." Sung-min smiled slightly. "Perhaps you underestimated us. Your vessels had technology beyond what Earth is supposed to possess," the Valkyrie accused. "You've been hiding your true capabilities. And you've been denying us access to technology we needed for our defense," Sung-min countered. "We did what we had to do to survive." The Confederation president called for silence as she addressed the packed hall. "We face an unprecedented threat. The Nexari continue to advance through our territory except where they encountered unexpected resistance." She looked directly at Sung-min. "The human victory suggests they may have insights that could benefit us all." Sung-min stood. "Earth is willing to share our defensive strategies and coordinate with Confederation forces, but we will do so as equals, not as junior partners or servants." The hall was silent. For the first time, a human representative was making demands of the Confederation, and they had no choice but to listen. "We accept your terms," the president said finally. "Earth will have full membership status, effective immediately." As the meeting ended, representatives from dozens of worlds approached Sung-min, offering congratulations and seeking Earth's help. The species that had looked down on humans for decades now looked to them for salvation. "They fear the Nexari more than they despise us," said Ji-hai Park, who had joined Sung-min at the Confederation station. "That's the only reason they're listening now." "Fear is a powerful motivator," Sung-min agreed. "And for the first time, they're starting to fear what humans might be capable of, too." Back on Earth, in a secure meeting room, President Yoon-ri received the reports from the front lines. "The Nexari have been stopped, but they haven't been defeated," Defense Minister Ji-woo Hwang explained. "They're regrouping, probably planning their next attack." "And the Confederation?" the president asked, suddenly very interested in working with us. "They want our ship designs, our tactical systems, our battle plans. The same technology they've been denying us access to for decades. They now want to know how we developed it ourselves." President Ri smiled slightly. "Give them what they need to fight the Nexari, but keep our newest advancements secure. We've earned our place at the table now, but that doesn't mean we should give away all our advantages." "And what about the Nexari?" "They'll be back." The president's expression hardened. "Then we'll be ready. Humanity has just shown the galaxy what we're capable of. This is only the beginning." Jin-woo Park, the newly appointed Minister of Defense for Earth, stood before a room filled with alien representatives. Just 3 months ago, most of these beings would have ignored him or treated him with barely disguised contempt. Now they watched him with a mixture of hope and unease. "Welcome to Earth," Jin-woo said, his voice calm and confident. "I understand you have questions about our defense strategies and military capabilities." The Valkyrie representative, tall and imposing with golden scales that caught the light, stepped forward. The Nexari have conquered 7 more Confederation worlds since they retreated from your solar system. Their advance seems unstoppable. Except here. We need to understand how you achieved this. Jinwoo nodded. We've been preparing for threats like this since before we joined the Confederation. Humanity has a long history of warfare against ourselves. It's not something we're proud of, but it gave us unique perspectives. A murmur ran through the room. Most Confederation species considered internal warfare primitive and barbaric. They had evolved past such behavior thousands of years ago, or so they claimed. Show them, Jinwoo said to his assistant. The lights dimmed, and a large screen displayed images of human history, ancient battles with swords and shields, world wars with tanks and planes, modern conflicts with advanced weapons. The aliens watched in a mixture of horror and fascination. While the Confederation enjoyed millennia of peace, humanity fought itself in countless wars, Jinwoo explained. We developed strategies not just for fighting with superior technology, but for fighting when outmatched. We learned to be unpredictable, to use deception, to turn an enemy's strength against them. The Illuvian representative with skin that shimmered blue looked troubled. You speak of these things as if they are advantages. War is a failure of civilization. War is a reality of existence, Jinwoo replied. The Nexari have proven that. Peace is valuable precisely because it can be lost. Those who forget how to fight often don't survive when fighting becomes necessary. He gestured to a group of human military officers who stood at attention along the wall. These commanders will be assigned to your fleets. They will teach your crews how to fight the Nexari more effectively. The Morrigan representative, insect-like with compound eyes, clicked in surprise. You expect us to place our advanced vessels under human command? I expect you to survive this war, Jinwoo said simply. The Nexari have studied your tactics for who knows how long. They know exactly how the Confederation fights. But they weren't prepared for how humans fight. That's the advantage we offer. In a large training facility outside Beijing, Chief Military Strategist Ye-Jun Kim walked among rows of holographic displays. Alien officers from 12 different species watched, as he explained human battle tactics. The fundamental difference in our approaches, Ye-Jun said, pointing to a simulation of a space battle, is that you build systems for perfect conditions while we build for imperfect ones. He showed 2 ship designs side by side. Your vessels have shields designed to withstand specific types of attacks at maximum efficiency. Our shields are designed to adapt to unexpected weapon types even at the cost of some efficiency. An alien officer with 4 arms raised one of them. But our approach is mathematically superior. The numbers prove it. Numbers don't fight wars, Ye-Jun replied. Living beings do, and living beings rarely behave according to perfect mathematical models. He pressed a button, and the simulation showed a Confederation fleet in a perfect geometric formation facing a Nexari attack. The Nexari ships targeted the command vessels first, disrupting the chain of command. Without central direction, the Confederation formation fell apart and was quickly destroyed. Now watch a human approach, Ye-Jun said. The simulation reset, but this time the defending fleet used Earth tactics. Ships moved in seemingly random patterns. When the Nexari attacked, the human fleet scattered, then regrouped in unexpected ways. Each ship acted with some independence rather than waiting for orders. The Nexari still caused damage, but the human fleet adapted and eventually drove them back. You built your military doctrine on the assumption that superior technology guarantees victory, Ye-Jun explained. We built ours on the assumption that things will go wrong. Plans will fail. Technology will malfunction. Leaders will fall. The side that can adapt to chaos often wins. The alien officers looked uncomfortable. These ideas challenged thousands of years of their military thinking. But this is disorganized, said a Valkyrie commander. There's no perfect precision? Exactly, Ye-Jun smiled. And that's why the Nexari can't predict our moves. They studied how the Confederation fights and developed perfect counters. But humans? We're unpredictable by design. Commander Mi-Suk Han stood on the bridge of the Valkyrie flagship, Eternal Glory. As a human, she felt small among the tall, golden-scaled aliens, but as the newly appointed tactical advisor, her words carried weight. The Nexari fleet has been detected leaving hyperspace, a Valkyrie officer reported. They're moving into standard attack formation. Misuk studied the tactical display. They're expecting you to respond with Formation Beta 7. It's what Valkyrie forces have done in this situation for the last 500 years. The Valkyrie Supreme Commander looked at her with a mixture of annoyance and curiosity. And what would you suggest instead? Something they won't expect. Split your fleet into 3 groups. Make them think your formation is breaking apart due to confusion. When they move to exploit what they perceive as weakness, we'll spring the trap. The Supreme Commander hesitated. Such tactics went against everything the Valkyrie considered proper military doctrine. But after 7 devastating defeats, he was willing to try something new. Execute the humans' plan, he ordered. The Valkyrie fleet divided seemingly in disarray. As Misuk had predicted, the Nexari moved to exploit the apparent confusion. When they committed to their attack, the Valkyrie ships suddenly moved with perfect coordination surrounding the Nexari fleet. Fire all weapons, the Supreme Commander ordered. The battle was brief and decisive. For the first time since the war began, a Confederation fleet had achieved victory against the Nexari without Earth's direct involvement. After the battle, as the Valkyrie celebrated their victory, the Supreme Commander approached Misuk. Your tactics were unorthodox, he admitted, but effective. Perhaps there is something to learn from human warfare after all. Misuk nodded. The Nexari expected you to fight like Valkyrie. You fought like humans instead. That's an advantage we can use again and again. You seem to understand our enemies well, the Supreme Commander noted. That's another human trait, Misuk explained. We study our opponents. We try to think like them to predict their actions. In our history, understanding your enemy often meant the difference between survival and extinction. The Supreme Commander seemed troubled by this concept. The Confederation has not faced a real threat in thousands of years. We've forgotten the lessons that come from fighting for survival. Then it's time to remember, Misuk said. Because the Nexari won't stop with a single defeat. This war has only just begun. In the Confederation War Council, Earth's representative, Jiho Song, stood before the assembled leaders. The chamber, once dominated by the oldest and most powerful species, now gave prominence to the human delegation. The Nexari have changed their tactics, Jiho explained, showing data from recent battles. They're adapting to our methods. Then, our advantage is lost, said the Alluvian Prime Minister, her blue skin darkening with worry. No, Jiho said firmly. Adaptation is exactly what we expected. Humans have always fought adaptive enemies, ourselves. This is where our experience becomes even more valuable. He showed a new battle plan, one that incorporated elements from dozens of Earth's historical conflicts. The Nexari expect you to follow established patterns. That's why they've been able to predict and counter your every move. We need to become unpredictable. The plan was complex, involving false retreats, decoy fleets, and communication blackouts. Many council members looked uncertain. This violates every principle of proper space warfare, the Morrigan general chittered. Proper warfare is what got the Confederation into this mess, Jiho countered. The Nexari studied your proper tactics for years before they attacked. They know what you consider proper. We need to show them something they've never seen before. After hours of debate, the Council approved the plan. For the first time in the Confederation's history, its combined forces would fight using human strategies. 3 months later, Admiral Yuna Kang stood on the bridge of her flagship, watching as the largest fleet ever assembled in the galaxy prepared for battle. Ships from 17 different species moved into position, following the battle plan developed by Earth's strategists. The Nexari main fleet has been detected, her tactical officer reported. They're moving to engage. Yuna opened a channel to the entire fleet. This is Admiral Kang. Today we fight not just for Earth but for all free worlds. The Nexari believe they understand warfare, but they've never faced a force like ours. Every ship in this fleet represents a species with its own history, its own strengths. Together, we are stronger than any one civilization could be alone. She paused, then added, fight with courage, fight with determination, but most importantly, fight with inti. Da-Hyun Lee never imagined she would be teaching alien soldiers how to fight. Just 1 year ago, she had been a junior officer in Earth's space forces, largely ignored by the Confederation military leaders. Now she stood before elite warriors from 3 different species, all watching her with a mixture of respect and uncertainty. Today we will practice irregular warfare tactics, Da-Hyun announced to the group. The training room was large, with holographic simulators ready to create battle scenarios. These techniques may seem strange to you, but they have helped humans survive against superior forces throughout our history. A tall Valkyrie officer stepped forward. His golden scales gleamed under the lights. Our civilization has not needed such methods for 10,000 years. Our technology has always been our strength. Technology doesn't win wars, Da-Hyun replied calmly. Strategy, adaptability, and will to survive do. The Nexari have beaten your technology. Now you must learn to fight differently. She activated the simulator. A holographic battlefield appeared, showing a Nexari force that outnumbered the defenders, 3-1. In this scenario, you cannot win through direct confrontation, Da-Hyun explained. So you must change the nature of the battle. She demonstrated tactics that seemed foreign to the alien soldiers: ambushes, false retreats, communication jamming, and psychological warfare. Many of the aliens looked uncomfortable as she explained concepts like deception and misinformation. These methods seem dishonorable, said an Illuvian commander, her blue skin rippling with emotion patterns that suggested disgust. Survival isn't always honorable, Da-Hyun replied. The Nexari don't care about your honor. They care about conquering your worlds. We must fight them with every advantage we can find. Over the following weeks, Da-Hyun watched as the alien soldiers gradually embraced human tactics. It wasn't easy for them. Species like the Illuvians, who were telepathic among their own kind, struggled with the concept of deliberate deception. The hierarchical Morrigan couldn't understand why lower-ranking soldiers should sometimes make decisions without orders from above. Yet slowly, they learned. And as they did, something unexpected happened. The aliens began to see humans differently. I never understood why your species advanced so quickly, an Illuvian commander told Da-Hyun after a successful training exercise. Now I see that hardship made you stronger. While we rested in peace for millennia, you were forced to evolve rapidly through conflict. Da-Hyun nodded. Humans don't enjoy war. We've learned its cost all too well. But we've also learned not to shy away from necessary battles. Jiho Song, Earth's representative to the Confederation War Council, faced resistance every day. Despite humanity's growing influence, many of the older species still clung to their traditional ways. The plan you propose violates 3,000 years of established space combat doctrine, the Morrigan Supreme General chittered angrily, the large insectoid being towered over Jiho, compound eyes flashing with colored lights that indicated extreme agitation. The Nexari have studied that doctrine for years, Jiho argued, standing his ground despite being physically dwarfed by many council members. They know exactly what you'll do before you do it. That's why they've been winning. The War Council. Chamber was filled with representatives from 30 different species. Once humans would have been seated at the back. Now Jiho stood at the central podium, commanding attention that would have been unthinkable before the war. He pointed to the holographic display showing recent battle data. Look at these. 3 years passed since the Nexari first attacked the Confederation. In that time, the balance of power in the galaxy had shifted dramatically. Human leaders now held key positions throughout the Confederation military and government. Earth, once a backwater provisional member, was recognized as the strategic heart of the war effort. Sujin Quan stood in the grand ceremonial hall of the Confederation Central Station. The massive space was filled with representatives from hundreds of worlds. As she walked toward the central platform, she felt the weight of history on her shoulders. Just 5 years ago, no human had ever set foot in this sacred hall, reserved for the highest leaders of the oldest species. Now Su-Jin, a human from Earth, was about to accept the position of Supreme Commander of all Confederation forces. The Confederation President, a tall Valkyrie whose golden scales had dulled with age and stress, spoke to the assembled crowd. In these unprecedented times, we have learned that age does not always bring wisdom, nor does technological advancement guarantee victory. We have learned to value different perspectives and different strengths. She turned to Su-Jin. Commander Quan, the Combined Council has unanimously voted to appoint you as Supreme Commander of all Confederation forces. Do you accept this responsibility? Su-Jin stepped forward. I do. On behalf of Earth and all humanity, I accept this honor and the duty that comes with it. The hall erupted in applause. Not all of it was enthusiastic. Many species still struggled with the rapid rise of human influence, but none could deny the results that human leadership had brought to the war effort. After the ceremony, Su-Jin made her way to the command center, where she would address all Confederation forces. Her speech would be broadcast to billions of beings across thousands of worlds. She stood before the cameras, calm and confident. I am Commander Su-Jin Quan of Earth. Today I speak to all who fight for freedom against the Nexari threat. She paused, looking directly into the camera. We didn't seek this war, but we were ready for it. Humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our resources, it's our resilience. We've faced extinction-level threats throughout our history and survived. Now we bring that same determination to defend not just Earth, but all Confederation worlds. Images appeared behind her showing the progress of the war. Planets liberated, Nexari fleets defeated, new weapons and defenses developed through cooperation between species. When the Nexari first attacked, they thought the Confederation weak and divided. They were partially right. Centuries of peace had made us complacent, but they underestimated something crucial: our ability to learn, to adapt, and to stand together. She gestured to the star map showing Confederation territory. We've pushed the Nexari back from 23 occupied worlds. We've destroyed or captured over 40% of their invasion fleet. We've broken their supply lines in 3 sectors. But the war is not over. Her expression grew more serious. The Nexari are adapting to our tactics. They're learning from us just as we've learned from them. The coming battles will be harder, not easier. But I make you this promise. We will prevail. Not because we are stronger or more advanced, but because we fight for something worth fighting for. Our freedom, our homes, our right to determine our own future. As her speech concluded, messages of support flooded in from across the galaxy. In 3 short years, humanity had risen from an ignored provisional member to leading the greatest military force the galaxy had ever seen. In her private quarters, Su-Jin met with her closest advisors, all humans who had proven themselves in the early days of the war. The Nexari have pulled back to their core territories, Admiral Ji-hoon Park reported, pointing to the tactical display. Our intelligence suggests they're consolidating their forces for a major defensive stand. They're also reaching out through back channels, added diplomatic liaison Yoon-ji Kim. They've hinted at possible peace negotiations. Su-Jin studied the star map thoughtfully. They're hoping we'll be satisfied with driving them back to their original borders, that we'll accept a return to the status quo. Should we consider it? Yoon-ji asked. This war has cost millions of lives already. The Nexari started this war believing they could conquer the entire galaxy, Su-Jin replied. If we leave them with their power intact, they'll rebuild and try again in a generation or 2. The Confederation might forget the lessons of this war, return to complacency. We can't let that happen. She zoomed in on the map, focusing on the Nexari home system. We need to push forward to their core worlds, not to destroy them, but to force a surrender that includes real restrictions on their military capacity. That will be the hardest fighting yet, Ji-hoon warned. They'll defend their home system with everything they have. Then we'll need to be smarter than ever, Su-Jin said. Gather the War Council. It's time to plan the final phase of this conflict. The assault on the Nexari home system was the largest military operation in galactic history. Over 5,000 ships from 3 100 different worlds participated. Leading the invasion fleet was General Minho Kang, commanding from the human flagship Defiance. As the combined fleet approached the outer defenses of the Nixari system, Minho addressed his officers. The Nixari believe their home system is impregnable. They've had centuries to build these defenses. According to all conventional military wisdom, a direct assault would be suicide. He smiled slightly. Fortunately, we stopped following conventional wisdom 3 years ago. The battle plan was unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. Instead of a frontal assault on the Nexari defenses, the Confederation fleet split into hundreds of smaller groups attacking from multiple vectors simultaneously. Some groups targeted communication relays. Others created diversions. Still others slipped through gaps in the defensive network using new stealth technology developed by combining human concepts with alien science. The Nexari defenders struggled to respond to an attack that seemed to come from everywhere at once. Their command structure, designed for efficient top-down control, couldn't adapt quickly enough to the rapidly changing battlefield. After 3 days of fighting, the Confederation fleet broke through to the Nexari throne world. Orbital defense platforms were disabled by special forces teams rather than destroyed. Civilian targets were carefully avoided. This wasn't a war of extermination. It was a precisely executed operation designed to force surrender while minimizing unnecessary loss of life. On the 4th day, the Nexari Supreme Overlord requested communication with the Confederation Command. Minho received the transmission on his bridge. The Supreme Overlord was tall and imposing, with gray skin and glowing yellow eyes. Despite the situation, he maintained a dignified posture. "You have fought with unexpected skill and determination," the Overlord said. "The Nexari Empire acknowledges your victory. On behalf of the Galactic Confederation, I accept your surrender," Minho replied formally. The Overlord studied him with those strange yellow eyes. "We studied all Confederation species before our invasion. We dismissed humans as inconsequential. That was our greatest mistake." Minho nodded. "A common error. One the Confederation made as well until recently." "What now, human?" the Overlord asked. "Will you destroy our civilization, enslave our people?" "No," Minho said firmly. "The Confederation doesn't seek revenge or domination. We seek lasting peace. Your people will retain their independence, but your military capabilities will be limited, and your empire will be reduced to its original borders." The Overlord seemed surprised. Many species would not be so reasonable after such a conflict. "Humans understand the cost of war better than most," Minho explained. "We've fought enough of them to know that how you end a war determines how long the peace will last." As the surrender terms were formally accepted, Minho sent a message. "To Earth. Mission accomplished. The Nexari threat has been neutralized. The war is over." 6 months later, in the newly rebuilt Confederation Assembly Hall, Chancellor HFY Shin of Earth addressed the first post-war gathering of representatives from all member worlds. The hall was larger than before, with sections for 50 new species that had joined the Confederation during or after the war. "This conflict has changed us all," HFY said, her voice carrying to every corner of the vast chamber. "It reminded us that peace is not the natural state of the universe. It is something that must be built and protected." She looked around at the representatives of 1,000 worlds. Before this war, the Confederation was divided by invisible barriers. The oldest species held all power and knowledge. The youngest were denied full participation. We were not truly united. Murmurs of agreement spread through the hall. Even the most ancient species had come to recognize the flaws in the old system. Now we understand that every civilization, no matter its age or technological development, has something valuable to contribute. The Illuvians brought their unmatched sensor technology. The Morrigan contributed their mathematical genius. The EA Valkyrie provided their powerful ships. And humans. She smiled slightly. We brought our unique perspective on conflict. The hall filled with appreciative laughter. It was a measure of how much had changed that the Confederation species could now joke about humanity's warlike history. Before this war, no one feared human.